When planning and designing virtual networks in Azure, it's essential to consider address space allocation, subnetting, connectivity, and isolation requirements. Let's unpack several design considerations that you should be having. First one is address space and subnetting. Each Azure region within a subscription can support multiple virtual networks, and each virtual network can be segmented into multiple subnets to help organize resources and improve security. You should use private non-routable IP address ranges as defined in RFC 1918 for your virtual networks. I have posted those non-routable IP ranges on the screen. You should be always using Azure Virtual Network CIDR out of these ranges only for the private networking. You should also avoid using address ranges reserved for special purpose as they may cause conflicts or unexpected behaviors. I have posted them on the screen as well. Have a look and ensure that you are familiar with them. Another design consideration is IP address allocation and reservation. When you deploy resources in a virtual network, Azure assigns them private IP address from the virtual network address space. For instance, in a subnet with an address space of 192.168.1.0/24, a VM might receive an IP like 192.168.1.4. Azure reserves the first four and the last IP address in each subnet for internal purpose, which includes network address, default gateway, Azure DNS IP mapping, and broadcast address. I have posted a sample example as well on the screen. Understanding this reservation is a key. Why? This is where you should understand that how big your network should be. This is where I see that people understand it wrongly. Let's take an example. Think that you have chosen a CIDR of 192.168.1.0/24, which gives you 256 IP. And if you breaking this CIDR in 10 different subnets, means you are straight away losing 50 IPs and you will have only 206 usable IP. In some shops, people are crazy enough not allocating the sufficient IPs to the virtual network as they do not do in the traditional network. When you work in cloud, keep your networks bigger so that you can easily add subnets and expand the networks. In cloud, IP wastage is new normal, and there is no harm wasting IPs in cloud. Only thing you should ensure that every log emitted by the specific networks are captured for forensic and discovery purpose. These days, features like auto scaling and PaaS services need a lot of IP spare in your networks. Another design consideration is address space planning. You should ensure that each virtual network has a unique, non-overlapping CIDR block, especially if a VNet will be connected to on-premises networks or other virtual networks. Overlapping IP ranges can cause routing conflicts and networking issues. As mentioned earlier, you should plan the IP ranges with growth in mind to accommodate future needs without renumbering existing resources. From my perspective, in this agile world, this consideration actually solves the lot of future problems if addressed correctly. Note, certain Azure services require their own subnet and there is a prescribed limit for each service. You should have these considerations as well, such as if you are planning Azure Bastion, Application Gateway, or Azure Container Instances, all of them need their own specific subnets. For security and isolation requirements, you should define virtual networks to reflect any security isolation needed between applications or environment, such as production and development. And also you should determine if administrative isolation is required between teams or departments, which could impact how virtual networks and subnets are structured and managed. For hybrid connectivity design consideration, if you plan to connect virtual networks with on-premise networks, ensure address space don't overlap with corporate IP ranges. Consider options like VPN gateways or express route for secure connectivity. Be aware that some Azure services such as Azure Kubernetes Service might require their own dedicated virtual networks. You should plan to incorporate these services without IP conflicts with existing virtual networks. Overall, by carefully considering these factors, you can design virtual networks that align with your organization's connectivity, security, and scalability needs. And this will ensure a stable and secure foundation for your Azure resources.